Welcome back to Building Heavenly Neighbors. Now, if you've been following this journey, you probably noticed that my last video was a little different. It wasn't planned. I didn't sit down with my notes and think about exactly what I wanted to say. I just turned the camera on and I talked. And you know what? I'm actually glad I did. Because I've said from the beginning, I don't want this series to only show you the polished version of Building Heavenly Neighbors. I want you to see the journey while I'm actually living it. And right now, we're building the team. Still. Orientation happened, and so now what? One thing I've learned through this process is that hiring someone and having them attend orientation doesn't mean they're automatically ready to walk into a client's home. Orientation really is just the beginning. There's still documents that have to be completed, employee files that have to be maintained, training that has to be finished, policies and expectations that have to be understood. And all of those pieces have to come together before I'm comfortable matching someone with a Heavenly Neighbors client. Because I don't just want employees on a roster. I want prepared, professional, personal care specialists. There's a difference, and training is underway. Right now, my personal care specialists are working through their training, and this is something I put a lot of thought into. I didn't want orientation to be the only preparation they receive before working with clients. I wanted structured training, something I could track, something they could refer back to, and something that helped establish the expectations of Heavenly Neighbors before they ever walked into a client's home. That's why I created the Heavenly Neighbors Academy. And we're going to dedicate an entire episode to that because there's a whole story behind how I built that and what I included and why. But for now, the important thing is this. The team isn't just being hired. The team is being prepared. But I'm not finished hiring. Isn't that, yeah. So here's where we are in real time. I still want to add 2 more personal care specialists to the Heavenly Neighbors team. And my first thought was, okay, time to start recruiting again. Create another post. Make another flyer. Start collecting applications and resumes. And then I stopped because I realized I already have resumes. A lot of resumes, right? So, listen, there were people who applied earlier in this journey who stood out to me. People I remember interviewing or reviewing and thinking, I really like this candidate. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe I didn't have another opening. Maybe I simply had to make a choice between several good candidates, which is what happened. So instead of immediately opening the floodgates and starting another hiring campaign, I decided to go back. Sometimes the answer is already in the file. So I'm going back through those previous resumes and reaching out to some of the candidates who really impressed me. Before I ask another 100 people to apply, listen, I can't. Why wouldn't I first contact the people I already thought could potentially be a good fit? So that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching back out and I'm asking, are you still interested in Heavenly Neighbors? And we'll see what happens, right? Maybe the 2 people I'm looking for aren't new applicants at all. Maybe they're already sitting in my files. And I think there's a business lesson in that. Because sometimes when we're trying to grow, our first instinct is to go find more, right? More applicants, more leads, more resources, more everything. But sometimes it's worth stopping and asking, what do I already have? Because the resource you're looking for might already be sitting right in front of you. But I'm not hiring just to fill 2 spots. There's another part of this that's really important to me. I need 2 personal care specialists. Yeah, but I don't need just any 2 people. I'm looking for the right 2 people. People who are dependable, compassionate, professional, teachable, people who understand boundaries, people who respect someone's home, and people who understand that helping someone with everyday activities doesn't mean taking away their independence. As I've shared before, I'm my mom's full-time caregiver. So there's one question I can't separate from this process. Would I trust this person to care for my own mother? That's a very different standard than can this person do the job, right? Skills can be taught. Processes can be taught. Our systems can be taught. But I need people who understand that there is a human being on the other side of every task they're completing. That's the team I'm trying to build. So why build the team before the clients? Now, somebody watching might be thinking, but you haven't served your first client yet. Why are you already building a team? And that's a fair question, right? The answer is simple. I don't want my first family to call heavenly neighbors needing care, and then I have to start scrambling to find somebody to send to their home. That doesn't make sense. That's backwards to me. I want to have a small group of qualified personal care specialists who've already been vetted, onboarded, trained, and introduced to the Heavenly Neighbors standard. So when that first client comes, hey, we're not starting from zero. We're ready. Now, I also have to balance that with not building a huge staff before I have the clients to support them, right? So that's part of learning to think like a business owner. I need enough people to serve our clients well without building something the business can't sustain yet. And I'm learning that balance in real time. This is the part people don't always show. This is exactly why I wanted to create Building Heavenly Neighbors. It's easy to look at an established company and see employees and clients and systems and everything running. You don't always see this part, the part where you're looking at resumes, you're waiting for training to be completed, following up on documents you need, building employee files, making decisions when you don't know exactly how quickly the business is going to grow, and then asking yourself over and over, am I building this the right way? That's where Heavenly Neighbors is today. We're licensed. The business infrastructure is in place. We've held orientation. Training is underway. I'm adding 2 more personal care specialists. And we're continuing to work toward our first client. We're not at the finish line. We're still building. And I'm okay with letting you see that. So, where are we going next? Now that we've caught up with what's happening in real time, I want to go back and show you some of the work underneath everything I've been talking about. So because I've mentioned onboarding documents, I've also mentioned employee files, I've mentioned policies, I've mentioned orientation paperwork, but I haven't actually shown you how all of those pieces fit together. So in the next episode of Building Heavenly Neighbors, we're going inside the paperwork. I'll walk you through the onboarding documents I created, the documents my personal care specialist signed at orientation, what goes into an employee file, and why I decided each of those pieces needed to be there. And we'll talk about some of the policies behind those documents too. Because if there's one thing that I've learned, starting a home care agency involves a lot of paperwork, okay? But I'm also learning that when the paperwork is done intentionally, it's not just paperwork. It's part of the system that protects the client, the employee, and the business. And I can't wait to show you how I put it all together. So thank you for joining me for another chapter of Building Heavenly Neighbors. We're doing this one decision, one system, one personal care specialist, and eventually one neighbor at a time. So remember, excellence isn't something we achieve once. It's something we choose every day. So until next time, keep making a difference one neighbor at a time. And I'll see you in the next episode.